Yesterday is gone, so you only have the day. You wanna throw in the towel, you wanna low on your face. Seem like it's too much, you wanna walk away. But you gotta keep going, you gotta fight another day. You gotta keep on going, can't stop here. You gotta keep on going, try your tears. You gotta keep on going, you gotta keep going.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Keep Going, the podcast where we focus on present self or future growth. Today, we got a very, very special guest. This guy was the first guy that invited me on his podcast. I mean, his numbers is running up. Every day I look at him. Now he got his son on. And I mean, it's just amazing what this guy is doing. Amazing father, amazing motivator. And I just want to... this guy, just give him his flowers while he's here and just say thank you for everything you're doing. But welcome on Miguel Mendoza from Leave Your Marc podcast. What's going on, man?
Come on, man. Appreciate that welcome right there, man. That's very hospitable. I feel right at home, man. I appreciate you.
Definitely, bro. Hey, for the people that may be seeing you for the first time, explain to them who is Miguel Mendoza?
Yeah, so Miguel Mendoza is a visionary. He's a man with a vision. And he's not going to stop until that vision becomes a reality, which is happening every day. But I'm someone who, I want to leave behind a legacy of somebody who has helped change lives and help people out of the mindset of limitations. That's the best way to explain it right there. A lot of us believe that we're limited. A lot of us believe that our life can only amount to a certain limit. Right. But really, that's no such thing. It's a lie. You've been lied to. And so that's what I'm here to let everybody know.
That's good. I love what you said, because I think people need to really catch that what you said. We limit ourselves. And I'm trying to explain to every day how they're limited within their thinking. Like I'm real big on how can you think the person that you watch on TV every day or you see on this podcast or that, how can you think that they're so different from you? You know, like I don't get, like I just don't personally, I just don't think that way. I tell people all the time, I'm not trying to sound cocky or nothing else. Like, we can walk into a building with a celebrity there and everybody be like, oh my goodness, this is a celebrity. And I feel like, oh God, so am I. Big deal. Like I don't see no man as a celebrity, and this person that I see, like, I have this mentality of like, if they can do it, I can do it.
Absolutely.
Can you talk on that a little bit? Because I just think people miss that sometimes, bro.
No, that's a great point, man. And that's absolutely correct, because at the end of the day, we're all born looking like little ugly aliens. We're all born with nothing, no clothes, nothing, naked, and we're crying like that. We all come from that. Nobody was born a doctor, right? I've never seen anybody born a pro athlete. We all come from the same place. It just so happens what we do from there. Now, a lot of us, we have different resources, but the funny thing about that is, people who have made it to the top who come from nothing, and people who have made it to the top who come from a lot, who have a lot of resources as far as their money, their family coming from money, or their family just giving them every opportunity to succeed, or coaches helping them out since their youth. Like, we have both spectrums. We have both ends. So there is no excuse of, I came from Section A. I came from, the poverty line. I came from, like, there was no opportunities. Like, look, at the end of the day, it's got to get to a point where it's on you. Right. Mm-hmm. And so yes, maybe you grew up in an environment that has a lot of limitations, but ultimately, you got to get up out of that. You got to find a way out of that. And, I love to use this analogy, but it's about training fleas. And so this is real. Like, if you put a flea inside of a jar, it's going to hop out right away. But if you put a lid on top of the jar, the flea is going to hit the lid and then come back down. But it's going to keep trying. Like, it's going to keep trying to get out of the jar, hitting its head. But eventually that flea gets tired, right? It's like, man, okay, clearly I'm not going nowhere. So then the flea jumps just below the jar lid, right? Now, here's the crazy part, is once you take that lid off, the flea still only jumps just below where that lid would be.
Wow.
It's adapted to its limitations. And a lot of us can relate to that, right? We've gotten tired of failing. We've gotten tired of humiliating ourselves. We're tired of being made fun of. We're tired of our family telling us to be realistic. So we've adapted to our new limitation. Even when you have that opportunity, the lid's off, like, let's go. The job's up for anybody. It's like, nah, I'm done, bro. This is where I'm at. I have a family. I can't be taking risks like that. Like, now what's crazy about that is I imagine this flea laying eggs, right? And now it's got a little colony, a little community of fleas, and they're all taught to jump just below where that lid would be. And so that's where limitations for a lot of us come from. Like we live 99% of us live in an environment that's limited. It's that 1% that says, you know what? No, nothing can limit me. Like the sky's the limit. Not even that. I'm gonna go past that, right? But and so we think that the people who do make it, they're just the lucky ones, right? They're just they were meant for this. They were chosen to be on TV. They were chosen to be professionals. They were chosen to be billionaires, right? But really, that's not true at all. It's within all of us. We all have everything we need to succeed. It's just how are you going to work on that? Are you going to work on your craft? Are you going to believe? Are you going to be disciplined? Do the things that you need to do even when you don't feel like it? And are you going to be consistent every single day? That's what it comes down to, man.
I love that, bro. I love how you use the flea analogy. What it also made me think about is I know we both watch sports or whatsoever, but I just believe I tell people all the time, like I use sports growing up in life because I believe so many aspects of sports like prepare you for real life. And when I think about Steph Curry, everybody always talk about, oh, the greatest shooter of all time, greatest shooter. And the amazing thing about it is though, is that he can go a night and miss almost all his shots and then come back the next night and still shoot as if he just did not just have a bad game. And what I take from that is I was hearing an interview, NBA players was talking about you can't focus on the last shot. You can't focus on the last shot. You have to focus on the present moment and where you are now. And if you're still focused on the last shot, then you're going to mess up in the present moment of the shot that you're about to take. And what I took from that is that sometimes, like what you just said, is we focus so much on what we did wrong, that failure, this, that, just like that flea. And instead of focusing on the last shot, focus on the present moment. And I have to continue to put myself in that mind frame. Okay, this didn't work out. That didn't work out. Okay, big deal. Okay, what will work? Because something got to work. So I love the way that you put that. But tell me something. How do you stay locked in? Like how do you stay locked in to continue? How do you not focus on the failures? Because sometimes the failures can get you a little down. Sometimes it just make me feel a certain way. It's not working out the way I wanted it to work out. So what is some things that you use to not even focus on the failures?
Yeah, man. Well, like I said in the intro, I'm a visionary, but to get even deeper, I'm a delusional visionary, right? Like I am pretty much a psychopath in the sense of like what people ordinarily see, I see something else, right? That's what vision is. Vision gives you the gift to look at something, but you see something else, right? Like that's a gift. And so I just found the things that I want to do with my life. And as far-fetched as they may be, as far as the top goals, the end result of them, I'm willing to die for it. I'm willing to fail over and over again. I'm willing to be humiliated. I'm willing to be made fun. I mean, I have I'm saying everything I've done in my life, like wanting to be a college athlete, like what? You're a 5'8" Mexican. It's all good. It's okay. Like all the backlash, all the negativity, all the failures, like it's okay because, the true greats understand that failure can be one of your greatest teachers, right? But a lot of the times we don't allow it to. We get down on ourselves and we completely just try to go a whole different direction to avoid that failure. But really, no, it's like you can go the same direction, but you just have to tweak a few things. What did you learn from this failure? That's what the greats do, right? Even in sports, is they'll take a L and they'll go back to the film of what we did wrong, right? Then it's no longer a loss, it's a lesson. And so if you can have the vision, right, to see what you want and fully go after it with everything you got, you're going to go through the hard times. You're going to go through the failures and you're going to be fired up every single day, man. And that's ultimately it, is you got to have that vision, but you got to be You got to be delusional, man. Like, and when I think of delusional, I think of, here in Portland, we have a big drug problem. So you go to downtown, you'll see a lot of people strung out on drugs. But if you pay attention, they literally, like some of them who kind of have really just fried their brains, if you
Right.
look at them, they are completely in a whole different world than we are. Like, there could be nobody around them, but they're talking to people. They're talking to
Mhm.
someone.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
that's an extreme example. But ultimately, like when you have a vision, you see the life that you want, right? You may be
Right.
driving your rundown broken car, but you see yourself, in the Tesla or whatever the car you want is. Like, you see it perfectly, because if you can see it, you're subconsciously going to do the things required to get there. You're
Right.
going to live like somebody who is a champion. You're going to live like somebody who's a CEO. And so vision, man, vision is going to get you there. It's going to take you places that most people aren't going to go.
I love it. I love it, bro. I love it how you said delusional. I heard somebody else say it. You have to be so obsessed with what you're doing that other people just don't understand you. And when you
That's
say
right.
delusional, that's what it makes me think about. Because what I start to understand is that's when you're truly, me and a good friend of mine, we talk about this all the time. When you're truly obsessed with something, people don't get it. They don't get it. But for order for you to be great at something, you have to be obsessed with something. And people don't understand what that looks like sometimes. Like, people are so used to just being mediocre, like just going through your day doing everything average. But it's like,
Mm.
I don't want to go through the rest of my life average. I want to be great. I want to be delusional. Like, I remember me and my wife was having a conversation and we just talking about that, just like being delusional. Just, I don't care how it's going to work. I just know if I stay at this, if I stay going, if I keep going, if I keep going the way that I'm going, that eventually it's going to work out. Like, I just have to have that mind frame, because if I drop that mind frame, where is it going to get me anyway? It's not going to
Right.
get me anywhere. So I always keep that in mind. But I love how you said that, delusional. Like, I believe that's so important.
Yep.
Um, when I'm watching your page a lot, and I love it. I think you're, like I said at the beginning, an amazing father. I love it. Like, I'm watching you, and I'm just like this. I think some of us sometimes we try to be great in some aspects of life. Like, I remember a guy said one time, he said, I don't care how great I am. If I'm the hottest person on social media, I'm doing this, that, y'all praising me. But then I walk through my house and my family don't even see me in that way. My family just, whatever. Okay, he's here. He's like, to me, that's a failure. I don't care how great I am to y'all. If my kids don't love me and appreciate me and want me around, then I'm a failure. And I love to see how you and your son have the relationship that y'all have. Can you speak about that, like the importance of um fatherhood and raising your son to I remember you saying to your son that your kids become who you are, not what you tell them. And can
That's
you
right.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. I can judge a man's character by how their children behave. You know, because and I look at this in every aspect of life. I don't care if you are very, very successful. I don't care if you're, the best preacher in the industry. I don't care if you're CEO, governor. If your children are wilding out, then you completely missed the boat. There's a lot of things wrong with your leadership and with your character, because that is that is somebody's first ministry. That's somebody's number one priority, is their family. Everything else is secondary, because if I have a successful podcast but I neglect my son, there's something wrong there with my discipline and my priorities. Like, not even as a father, but just as a man myself, right? And but you're absolutely right, man. You have to have that relationship with your family. You can't be this super cool hot shot and your kids despise you, right? That's not how it works, man. But yeah, so yeah, what I said in that podcast episode was, kids don't do what you say, right? They do what you do.
Right.
And they don't
Right.
become this person that you want them to be with telling them what to do all the time. Is they become who you are, right? Especially when it comes to the father, right? Like, the father is the superhero. You
Right,
know,
right.
moms are great. Moms are the foundation, right? They definitely hold the family together. But the dads are the superhero. Even those dads that work 12-hour shifts, when you get home, kids are excited to see you and they're watching you. And that's the thing we don't understand is really how much kids are watching us,
Right,
especially
right.
the first handful years of their life. Those first 5 years, their brains are developing a whole lot. They're learning, so they're sponges. Like, I know we hear about that a lot, that kids are sponges, but it's true. Like, their subconscious mind is just absorbing everything. So the way that you speak, your children will speak. The way that a man treats his children's mother is the way that they'll learn what love is and how to treat a woman. That's how they'll learn, right? The way that a man respects the mother of his children is the way that daughters, that's the type of man a daughter will
Good.
go after. Someone who
That's
respects women or someone who disrespects women, right? And
right.
so you got to be that example. And so everything that I've learned from parenting, I've never read any parenting books, never went to any parenting seminars. It's literally all just reflecting on my childhood, right? Like,
Mhm.
what went wrong here, right? Like, and I mean, there was definitely good times, and I definitely, give the flowers to my parents. They did the best that they could with what they knew. Both come from really rough childhoods. Pops never knew his dad. Mom came from, just abuse, all that type of stuff. And so, but I mean, neither of my parents were like addicted to drugs. They all showed up to work every day. They divorced when I was 6. So, there was a lot that I was missing. But I just reflected, man, like what went wrong? Like, I understand, like, did I ever do what they told me to do? Like, maybe when they were around, but for the most part, no. Like, if they're cussing and they told me not to cuss, you best believe when I get to school with my friends,
Yeah.
I'm saying things worse than my parents said. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's because they didn't show me the example of how to conduct yourself. A
Right.
lot of people don't show you the example of how to conduct yourself. And that's the number one step to being a leader, right? Parent, non-parent, just we're talking leader, is showing people the way,
Right.
right? And so because of that, I'm like, okay, if I want my son to be calm, cool, and collect in high pressure situations, I need to be calm, cool, and collect even when I'm pissed off. When I
Right.
just want to blow up, I got to keep my cool, my poise, my composure, right? Because that's going to show him without me saying a word. That's going to subconsciously teach him when everything hits the fan, I do not have to freak out. I don't have to. Like, I saw this from someone. I don't have to freak out. That's the reason why I don't drink or smoke, not even a sip, not even a puff, is
Mhm.
because I want to show my son, you do not have to do this to enjoy your life, to have a good time. You can live a life that you love without needing anything external, right? To get you out of your normal state of mind, to
Mhm.
love your life, to have a great time. That's why I don't cuss, right? It's because
Mhm.
I want to show my son, you don't have to talk like everybody else is talking. Right. And so what I'm doing here and what we're doing is we're teaching our children that they don't have to conform to the ways of the world. They don't have to conform to everybody being lazy, everybody pulling the victim card out, blaming everybody for the reasons why they're not where they are. They can take control. They can go their own path, the right path, the one that's going to lead them to success and victories, man. And I think that's what winning and parenting is all about,
I
right?
love it.
Is can you set up your children for success? Can you set them up to have the best advantage to have a meaningful, um, limitless life, right? To go after the things they want to go after, and to be happy, to understand what happiness is and what it looks like. And so that to me right there, man, is winning and parenting for sure. And it starts with being the example.
Nah, that's good. I love what you said. You said a lot. That's a podcast within itself.
Right.
And it's like I want to speak to fathers and just understand, like, you are a superhero to your kids. And I wanted to share a story. I don't even think I ever shared this online, but I remember the day that I realized, like, wow, I'm my daughter's superhero. And I never forget, she was choking. She had a little piece of, I guess, lollipop that got stuck in her throat, and she was literally just choking. And she walked past her auntie while choking. She walked past her auntie. She walked past her mom, and she comes to me, directly to me. And I'm the one, that had to get her from stop choking. But what hit me in that moment is that immediately when she felt like things were no longer safe, when she felt like things were coming to an end, that my daddy is the one that's going to make it all stop. And I just thought that was crazy because in that moment, that was her most natural moment. She couldn't put on a show in that, nothing. This is when, like Eric Thomas always say, how bad do you want to, when you want it as bad as you want to breathe? Like at this moment, she just wanted to breathe. And she wanted to go to the person that she felt like was going to help her do that. And that's when I learned, like, wow, like being a father is very, very important. Like,
Yeah.
Even to our daughters, not just our sons, but just how you're viewed as the strength, you're viewed as the strong one, like you're viewed in that way. So I love how you said that. I just truly think the way you broke down us being who we need to be, like not just telling our kids that. I thought that was amazing because I think most people don't understand that a lot, is that you can't tell your kids not to cuss. Like you said, and then you cuss every single day, because that's how I grew up.
Yep.
Every single day I heard cuss words.
Yep.
And I mean, like you said, I'm in school and I'm just letting people have it. Like I'm putting new words together. I'm trying to create some new things. Like,
Right.
and so I just think that's amazing how you said that. And that's
And hey, bro, thanks for sharing that story, man. And
yeah,
yeah, that's the truth right there, man. Is she went to the one who realistically is just genetically less emotional and more instinctive, right? And so, a lot of the times, and especially me speaking as a single father who shares custody, we can feel so undervalued as fathers these days, right? And it's just with all the political stuff going on too, man. But ultimately, we can feel like our value is so little because we don't birth the children, right? We don't nurse them, right? Their food doesn't come from our body. All these things to where we can feel very undervalued. But man, we have separate values that are extremely important. I mean, if you look at the statistics for crime, right? Those people that commit crimes, well over half of all of them come from fatherless homes.
That's
Right.
good.
And that's not saying that, them being in a home with a father, that father's a horrible example and it's kind of what led them into that life. But for the most part, like it just goes to show that, we have our role and it's extremely important. We're the superhero, but it just comes down to, are you going to make that a good thing or not by your example? Right. But yeah, man.
That's good. And I want to speak because you said something, you really touched on something. Because I believe sometimes people will always look for excuse as a way out. Like, Miguel still said, his parents did the best they can do. He had his parents. Well, I want to speak to the person that maybe did not have their parents. My parents, I love my parents, I'm in good standings with them now, but they didn't raise me. They did deal with drugs. I had to go stay with other people. And I use that as an excuse for a very, very long time. I use that as an excuse. Like my parents quit on me. I quit on everything. When I no longer wanted to work a job, I just quit. Like I did not care, just quit. And for so long, I use that as an excuse. Like they quit on me, I'm quitting on life. I live life on my own terms, this and that. I had so many excuses. And I think deep down inside, I thought like, because I had been through so much, that life was just gonna take it easy on me. Just like, you know what, Alvin, you've been through hell, like you done been through so much. Your parents walked out on you. You had to go stay in foster care. Then you had to go stay with a family member that didn't really care about you. Like, I'm just going to take it easy on you. And life never did that. And it woke me up. Like, life does not care what you've been through. You still have to put in the work. You still have to put in the work to get the results. That's the rules of life does not change because of what you've been through. So that's what that situation taught me. So anybody out there that's looking for that excuse to say, oh, I can't be a father, because I see it all the time. I can't be a father because of what I've been through. I can't be a good parent because of what I've been through. That's just an excuse. You're still focused on the excuse instead of focusing on the results.
Right.
So I think somebody really needs to hear that because I think so many times that people we focus on excuses, but we want different results out of life, and no good results is going to come out of the excuses.
Yeah,
So
man, that's that, bro. Thank you for sharing that again too, man. Because like, yes, I mean, again, right? We can look at both spectrums. We can look at both demographics of every situation. People
yeah,
that were raised by their parents, people that weren't, people that were raised from poverty, people that weren't, people that were abused, people that weren't, and both of those people have found a way to the top. So ultimately, what's your excuse? Like at the end of the day, your parents brought you into this world. You're here. You're one of 400 trillion people that made it. You made
yeah,
it. Then it gets to a point, we all get to a point where we learn what right and wrong is, regardless. Then it's
right.
on you. Then it's all on you, 100%, man. So yeah, bro. Thank you for sharing that, because we can use a lot of excuses, man. But ultimately, we're all given a chance. What are you gonna do with it?
Right, right. And you said earlier, you talked about it's going to be people I don't care. You can find the most craziest neighborhood, and it's somebody that's going to make it out. It's
Yep.
somebody that's going to make it out. And I think about like where I'm from in Orlando. It's drug infested. A lot high crime rate. Um, and I remember while I used to stay in that neighborhood, just thinking like, man, like most of the people around here don't even have a vision to make it out. And I think of a guy, I think his name is Kirby Joseph. He plays for the Oakland Raiders, I want to say, or Las Vegas Raiders now. But he had a mind frame of like, regardless, I'm going to make it out. I'm going to make it out. I think about it. The story goes everywhere. I don't care. You can go all across the world. Somebody in some neighborhood that you think like that is every excuse. They have every excuse there of why they should not make it, but still finds it deep within to make it out. So I want to speak to the person real quick, Miguel. Um, that's just like I understand what y'all saying, but life get tough. Like I understand what y'all saying, but I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that. And every time, like I did a post the other day and I talk about it's a blessing on the other side of your brick wall. And the guy commented on there and was like, I've been going through this for a minute, almost in the sense of like, are you sure? Are you sure? But how do you speak to that person that's struggling with the belief that it will get better if they continue to put the work in? How you
Yeah.
speak to that person?
Yeah, man, great question. And yeah, I know people like that too. It just seems like they can't win, right? Just hard
Mhm.
time after hard time. Like, look, man, it's just not meant for me. I'm about to give up. I'm about to check out. But ultimately, a lot of times in life we can. This is a great quote that I heard. But a lot of times in life we feel like we can that we've been buried, right? We
Mhm.
feel like life has buried us, but really you just been planted, right? And
Mhm.
when I think of a plant, oh, he liked that one.
I
When
like
I
that
think of a plant, um, everybody just sees the beautiful plant or the beautiful rose, right? Or the beautiful crop, right? The tomatoes, whatever. But you got to understand where they came from. They all came from the dirt. They all
one.
had to go through the dirt. You got to go through the dirt. You have to. There's no other way. At some point, maybe you have some success and then you go through the dirt. So it may not be in that order, but at some point, you got to go through those hard times. Why? Because this is what I truly believe. I believe that life I believe that life weeds out the people who really, really want it and those who really, really don't. Life is going to test you, right? Okay, cool. All right, you want to be the CEO of your company. All right, here's this test. Let's see how bad you really want it, right? Oh, great. You want to be, the world's most sought after speaker. All right, let me hand you this problem real quick, right? I think of like Donkey Kong throwing barrels at people.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
life is gonna throw barrels at you, man. You're gonna have to keep jumping over. Some are gonna smack you and knock you down, but you got to get back up and keep going. Those are the people, right? We talk about the 1% versus the 99%. The people who make it to the top are just the people who keep on going.
Mm.
Denzel said an amazing quote that got me through a lot in my life. He said, if you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're gonna get a haircut,
Yeah.
right?
I love
And
it.
then I add to that quote and saying that yes, you're waiting for that haircut, you're waiting for your chance. Sometimes all you got to do is just wait, right?
Mm.
But if you get out of line, like, oh, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go do whatever I want. You're going to lose your spot in line, and maybe you're going to have to start all over. Right. And to bring it all together, man, I love using this analogy. I heard it from Les Brown, but it's about the ancient Chinese bamboo tree. Right. And you may have heard this, Alvin, but I definitely had it was my
Go
first.
ahead.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was my
yeah, I
first. It
love
was
it.
my first post to go viral. It was pretty cool, but I mean, so in the Far East, so I understand the bamboo is a plant, but this is actually a tree. This is a bamboo tree. In the Far East, is where it comes from. But you plant it, and you got to water and fertilize it every single day. If you miss one day, it dies in the ground. Now, as you're doing that process, nothing grows above ground. Nothing breaks through the ground for 5 years.
Mm.
Sounds crazy, but literally for 5 years, you have to work at something without the knowledge of if it's still alive or not, if it's going anywhere or not, if it died in the ground or not. Like, you don't know. You just keep working consistently. Then on that 5th year, it only takes 5 weeks to grow 90 feet tall. Now, the beauty of this is, first of all, like, how long did this take to grow 90 feet tall? Did it take 5 weeks or 5 years with those 5 weeks? And the answer is 5 years and 5 weeks. Now, everybody from the outside is only going to see the 5 weeks, right? And they're going to think like, man, okay, I'm going to get on this 5-week plan, right?
Mhm.
Like, no, man, absolutely not. You don't understand the work that I put in. You don't understand what I went through for those 5 years. You don't understand all the people that told me I could and all the people that told me I'm crazy. Like, hey, you're working at something that's not growing. You're working at something. You're not producing any progress. You should just give up. Be realistic. But it's the people who are delusional enough to believe that no matter what they're going through, no matter what lack of progress, it is possible for you. But are you going to believe? And while you're going through these hard times, are you going to keep working on a consistent basis? Are you going to keep watering that dream? Or are you going to pull the victim card out and be like, well, life happened to me, so I gave up? Or are you going to be like, nah, I mean, trust me, I went through a lot of hard times, but life still is happening for me. Life is shaping my path. I know right now I'm just going through the growing phase. I'm going through the dirt, but I'm going to win. I don't care. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what I have to go through. I don't care who leaves me. I'm still going to win because I'm going to be consistent, and I would rather die than give up on my dream. And it's those people, Alvin. It's those very few, very rare people who take ownership over their life. They don't blame anybody. They blame themselves, but they don't throw a pity party. They blame themselves and then learn from it and adapt and make the changes required. And they go on their way to the top. It's those very rare few delusional visionaries, man, that make it. And so your original question was, how does somebody get through those hard times? They've just taken it over and over again. Understand that you're in the process. That's supposed to happen. Some have it harder than others. Some have it easier than others. But life is molding you. Life is shaping you to not only get to the top, but be ready once you get there. Because, man, it's funny. A lot of people, when they pray, they pray to receive this success. But I always prayed to be ready for it.
I love it.
Because when it comes, you want to be ready for it, or it's not going to last.
Right,
and that's exactly what life did to me. God was like, bet. All right, I'll make sure you're real ready. I'll make sure that sword is extra sharp and that shield is unbreakable. And so, yeah, man, and I went through the hard times, man, of living out of my car, trying to get a college scholarship, of starting a business 3 months before the pandemic hit, and still trying to provide for my son and raise my son, and no bad days. Like, even though I'm going through this hard times, I'm going to come with a smile on my face. I'm going to be your dad, and we're going to build this up. I don't know how, and then it turned into a 6-figure industry by the time I was 25. And then even with this podcast, the first 6 months were rough, but I just kept watering that thing every day. Like I was, one of the top dogs, one of the top names. And then we've gotten to a very beautiful spot here, being in it for just over a year. I'm starting to travel now, travel the country to speak, and soon it'll be
Nice.
international. And, the podcast is doing a whole lot better. It's been downloaded in 115 countries. And so, but I say all this because I'm someone who just was delusional enough to believe that this was meant for me. And I come from no one special. I come from the poverty line. I come from a split household. Um, but I'm here to tell everybody, man, it's those who are willing to go through the dirt and believe, man.
I love it. I love it. It's amazing how perspective is everything.
Everything.
Perspective is everything. And I love it. And I tell people all the time, I don't pray for a lighter cross. I pray for a stronger back to be able to withstand whatever it is that this journey
Mm,
has. So I love how you said that. I wanted to try a new segment today. You'll be the first person that I do this segment on. I
come
figure
on,
like it was meant to be. It was meant to
let's
be.
go.
And it's this segment I call it going. And basically, a lot of people don't know that keep going. The going aspect of it is actually like a acronym that my wife helped me come up with. And basically, the first one is for goals. So, what would you say? I think you kind of spoke on it, but what would you say are some goals that you have coming up? So, as we see you on your journey, we can say, man, he said that was a goal that he had, and that was a goal that he had. What would you say?
Yeah. Some goals I have upcoming is to man. Well, I'll just give you the meats and potatoes, but um, yeah, the goals I have, man. I do have a goal to be the world's most sought after speaker, and I want to speak everywhere. I want to speak in schools to the youth. I want to speak in juvies to the youth. I want to speak in prisons. I want to speak in hospitals to those who feel like they're lacking hope. I want to speak overseas. I want to speak to third world countries and make a huge impact in this life. And as far as podcasts, I want to be in the top 5 of the self-help category in podcasts within the next year.
I
And
love it.
yeah. And then I have goals for my son. My goal is to get him reading at a second grade level by the end of summer, and he's going into first grade.
Nice,
So
nice.
that's my goal for him. And of course, just to be the best dad I can be and be there for him and all that good stuff, man. And then my goal by the end of summer is to land a big contract with the sponsor. So for those of you who kind of don't know what I'm talking about, it's a company that wants you to basically be their brand ambassador to represent them. And so you mention them in every podcast, like shout out to our sponsor and pop up some reels for them some on social media and stuff like that. So yeah, man, those are some upcoming goals for sure.
Nice. And I know some of it's obvious, but you could take one of those goals that you just chose and uh, tell us some ways how you choose to implement things in place. Because we know that you need a plan to like this stuff doesn't just happen. So what is things you choose to implement to make this goal a reality?
See, that's what makes you different, man. It's like, don't just tell me the goal, but tell me how we're going to get there.
All right.
I love that. I love that. So I'll just go with the first one when it comes to speaking. So when it comes to speaking, like I'm doing, several speeches now. I have some coming up locally here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm traveling to Los Angeles at the end of this month to go give a speech down there. So really, it's just saying yes to everything. It's just trying to get my name out there because I just started giving live speeches January of this year. And so, as well as a lot of people may know me on social media, ultimately, I'm not there yet as a speaker. So I'm saying yes to everything and speaking as much as I can, getting those repetitions, finding a lot of things that I can work on and learn from and get better at. But yeah, man, just emailing as many people as I can, and also responding to emails and stuff like that, and just keep doing what I'm doing. Be consistent with everything on social media because that's opened up a lot of doors for me. A lot of people have reached out to me to speak from social media, from even just my podcast post, which was the goal from day one of even starting a podcast. Was this was going to launch my speaking career, right? I love podcasting. I'm always going to do it, but ultimately my vision and dream was to be a live speaker. And
I
so,
love it.
yeah, man, just staying consistent with everything that I'm doing for sure.
And I messed up just now, and all my wife would kill me if I don't correct it because I jumped straight to implement. But going is spelled GOI, not GI. So
Ah,
so for the next one, O is organized. Like, how do you stay organized? So because it's a lot of things that go on in life, but how do you stay organized to make this goal a reality?
great question. Step one is make sure your home is neat and clean and organized. Step one, everybody. I don't care if you live in a studio apartment, a big apartment, a house. Make sure that thing is clean. Make sure you come home to a clean home because one, it feels great and it lowers your stress.
Yep.
But two, it declutters your mind, right? Like, and you look at any successful person, usually their desk is organized, right? So just make sure everything is organized, everything is presentable all the time, 100% of the time. No dishes in the sink. Wash them right away. Um, but and then aside from that, man, it's just organizing your emails, and then like I have a list of companies that I want to email, and then I always update it. Have I emailed them? Yes or no? Have I followed up on that email? Yes or no? And then even just with like podcasting, like I have all my topics also on like a Google form, and guests that I could potentially have on. Did I reach out to them, follow up with them? Yeah, it's just making a bunch of lists, and then keeping those organized, keeping those up to date, right?
Yeah.
And then it's funny if someone goes into my home, you can easily tell that a single dad and a 6-year-old boy live there, because I mean it's very organized, but it's boring. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have like any fancy decorations. Like, I got a few pieces of art up in the living room, but in my room I have 3 different boards. I have like the daily, weekly stuff, um, the short-term goals, and then the long-term goals, right? And I always say I don't have decorations, I have declarations on my walls, right? And so you got to make sure that the things that you want to do in life, you got to write them down, put them up somewhere where you can actually see them every single day, because subconsciously it makes us go towards the things required to achieve those things, right? And
Absolutely.
always update those. Always see if you hit the target, if you hit the goal, and if you didn't, what can I do differently? Or if you did, how can I update the goal as far as something higher and higher? And it's beautiful because I do this with my son, and so it's teaching, and he loves it. He volunteered to do it with me, but he um like, for example, like I X amount of downloads per month on the podcast. Well,
Yeah.
we've crushed that goal, and so he wants to check it off and write the next goal. Like, okay, what's the next amount of downloads per month? And so it's teaching him to have vision. It's teaching him to set a mark and reach it, and how good it feels to reach it, right? And so, yeah, those are just some ways to stay organized, but it's got to start with the clean home, everybody.
I love it. And I love how you said clean home because I think that's important and
Yep.
very, very important. And I definitely cannot let my wife hear this podcast. The dishes. So,
Can't, can't let
so for the, so for the end is for narrow vision, and it just staying on the task, staying focused. What is things you do to stay focused on the task so you don't go off course?
Yeah, well, you got to think about what you want now versus what you want most, right? And I mean, from the outside looking in, I live a very boring life.
Mhm.
I don't really have friends, and I'm not opposed to having friends. It's just I'm 26 years old, man. It's hard
Mhm.
finding a crowd my age that's locked in.
That's locked
So
in.
I'd rather
Agree.
I'd rather be alone than be around the wrong people. But
Yep.
you got to understand everything has influence over you. Everything. That's just the way our brains are wired. People have influence over you. The things that you watch have influence over you. And so I make sure I tailor my life to the good things, right? That are going to influence me in the right direction. And so a great example of this is Mr. Beast, the YouTuber. His name's
Oh yeah.
Jimmy. But I was watching an interview of his, and I love watching the same interview over and over again. But he's talking about being obsessed, right? And you touched on this earlier too. But he's talking about being obsessed. Is those who are obsessed are the ones that are gonna find out, right? And what he did, man, was he's really the founding father of being a successful millionaire YouTuber, right? And I'm sure he's a
Mhm.
billionaire now if you add up all his assets and stuff. But he found a group of guys who were willing to go down that road with him, and they were obsessed day and night. They tried to crack the YouTube algorithm when there wasn't even one to begin with. They figured out what worked. They posted videos. What can we do differently? These guys didn't drink, they didn't smoke, and they did not date women. Or sorry,
Wow.
they didn't date in general, right? They didn't mess around with none of that. Like they were locked in, and the results speak for themselves. Like this guy's of the top probably 0.1% of the world, because he was narrow visioned, he was locked in, he was focused, right? And it's crazy because you would think, okay, now he's successful and he can chill, but really, like, it's who he is. So he still lives that life. He's still obsessed with it to this day. And so if you look at his videos now and his interviews now, not a whole lot has changed, man. Like, he's not about the fast life, the flashy life. Like, he puts most of his money back into his YouTube channel to keep it growing, to keep going. And so I use him as a great example. But yeah, ultimately you got to think about what you want most instead of what you want now.
I love it. I love it. So Miguel Mendoza has told us his goals on how he organized them, how he implement them in his narrow vision. And the G is for grind. Because at the end of the day, you got to grind it out. So we get to see you on your journey. We thank you for coming on the podcast, and we just excited about your journey. Everything you said, I see you growing daily, man. I love it. I love as you're doing it. So everybody that's watching, make sure you're grinding on your goals, the things that you say you want out of life. Man, thank you. While you here, tell us how we can reach you.
Absolutely, man. Yes. So you guys can find my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. Just look up the Leave Your Mark podcast. Mark is spelled M-A-R-C, not with a K, just in honor of my son, Marcus. And you can find me on social media at leave_your_mark. That's the same username for Instagram, TikTok, and now Threads. Shout out Threads. Got a new social media. But yeah, you can find me on those. And then shoot me an email if you want, as far as speaking inquiries, Miguel at leaveyourmark.pro. And Alvin, thanks for having me on, bro. I remember when I had you on and we were talking about setting up a podcast, and there's people that talk about things, and then there's people who actually do them, and you're a doer, man. So props to you. I love this show. I love what you're doing. You're consistent as well, man. And everything's gonna pay off. It already is, but it's gonna skyrocket, man. And I'm proud to see it and to be a witness.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on. Everybody, thank you for watching. Keep going to podcast, and I'm out.
Yesterday is gone, so you only have a day. You wanna throw in the time, you wanna